In this video I will share with you gameplay information and tips that will help you win fights in Warcraft Rumble and progress through the game, so welcome! Starting with a unit type that you should not sleep on, those are the Unbound units. Unlike normal units, they can be deployed anywhere on the map, and that creates a number of things you can achieve with them. And in my opinion, every deck should include at least one Unbound unit, depending on your playstyle and your deck, which Unbound unit you would like to use. For example, Whelp Eggs are really good in the game right now. They are strong and they can be used, for example, to capture meeting stones, which will allow you to deploy your units further, faster, and they will also stand guard at the point where you deploy them. So they can be really useful, for example, sniping out melee units, because melee units can't hit flying units, and that will make them really strong and cheap option to use in pretty much every deck right now. On the other hand, you can use other Unbound units like skeletons, for example, to capture chests, and even better if you can capture those chests right under the enemy's nose, stealing them away from them and giving you the gold advantage. And if you can have more gold than your opponent, you are in a really comfortable position to be in. Another super useful trick is to use Unbound units to taunt your enemy units, and one really good unit for this purpose is the Earth Elemental, which I have had so much success in my PvE fights and even in some PvP fights as well. The trick is to place him behind the enemy boss or tower just before your other units reach him. For example, against Falstad here, placing him behind him just before my other units reach him will make him target my Earth Elemental instead, allowing my other units to creep in and deal some free damage, eventually killing the boss and winning the fight for me. And the same trick can of course be used against towers as well. Just drop it behind the enemy tower or at the side just before your other units reach it, allowing them to deal free damage to tower, essentially giving you a free tower capture right there. And now unbounding ourselves from the Unbound units, let's talk a little about managing the board, and the key to winning most of the fights is gold. And if you can secure more gold than your opponent, you are on the road to success. So be sure to mine the gold and capture chest whenever you can. We already discussed this about with the Unbound units, but also in general as often as you can. And if you can deny your opponent the chance for them to get those extra golds, you are in a very good position. So do not underestimate the value of gold in this game, because that will be the determining factor of whether you win or lose most of the times. And during the game, make sure you use these directional arrows to your advantage. You can use them, for example, to send one unit to capture a chest on another lane, or to avoid certain fights against certain units, or to go harass enemy kobolds or do some multi-lane pressuring. But just remember they are there for a reason. Keep using them to your own advantage throughout the game. Also remember that in any game mode except for the PvP, you can always pause the game mid-game if you need to think of a new strategy or you encounter a unit you haven't seen before. And I would recommend, especially when you are starting out playing your first games, whenever you see a new unit you haven't encountered before, pause the game, tap that unit and find out what they do so you can think of a strategy to counter them effectively. Every unit has a weakness that you can use to counter it, and of course you will learn more of this naturally as you play more and more the game. So whenever you are playing, try to learn something from every encounter you make. Basically you could say the game is pretty much like rock, paper, scissors in terms that melee unit speed, ranged unit speed, flying units and flying unit speed, melee units. Of course there's more in depth to that than that, but that's the fundamental of how things actually work. So make sure to use that information to your advantage throughout your battles. As you're playing your units, try to place them in a way that they can complement each other's weaknesses. And one of the simplest, easiest strategies that actually works really well is to place a tank unit or high HP unit at the front, and then place some ranged units behind the tank that can deal free damage from the back lines. And that actually works really well. It sounds so simple, but you can use this strategy from day one with the first starting minutes you are presented with the game, so no reason not to use this to your advantage. When you're countering enemy units, if you can, try to be gold efficient with it. And this again leads us to the point of having a gold advantage over your enemy. So if you can counter an enemy unit that costs 6 gold with your own unit that costs 3 or 4 gold, you now have 2 extra gold over your enemy, and I'm sure you can see where I'm coming from with this. Having a gold advantage can really turn the tide of the battle for your own favor. And now with all of this information, you are realizing that every PvE fight is a little bit different, a little bit boss, a little bit maps. So you're thinking, how could you create a build that is strong against everything that will beat the whole game for you? And I would say that's a fundamentally wrong way to think of your decks. You shouldn't think of them as a static deck that will never change, because of the very reason that the PvE fights are all a little bit different. So you should be ready to swap out a unit or two every now and then from your build to another one, because that other unit might work well better for a certain fight, and then just go back to your old build once you have beaten that battle. So don't get too caught up just having a one single build, but do keep leveling your other units as well, so you can complement the weaknesses of your build depending on the map you are trying to tackle. And now, after watching this far, do you have some kind of a tip that you have learned that other people should know as well? If you do, make sure to leave them down in the comment section. Let's all do our best to help each other out with this wonderful game. And if you need more tips, I recommend to watch this video next. Thank you very much for this one. I'll see you next time. Laku out.